Going live. Okay. It will start here in a second.
That smells good. Sweet.
There we go. How many do we have already?
All right.
Live chat.
We have 29 waiting.
20. Okay. Well, it's live. Live started about 19 seconds ago.
Oh, man, you got me pouring beer?
Yeah, I guess I did.
Oh, yep, there it is.
Are you seeing it on your side?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Oh, it's starting to play the ad, but we are live.
We are live. You guys let us know how the audio sounds. Let's share. It's alive. Pop out chat. Boom.
Howdy, y'all. How's it going?
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to put that there.
See, these last little things you fix is when you have that countdown going.
Well, that's true. Yeah, and I haven't added... The countdown was in Wirecast. I haven't added it to this yet.
I thought there was also a YouTube countdown that you could throw up.
No, there might be. I don't have it added to my Streamlabs yet, so... So, good audio. Okay, Nick Pixel says good audio. Okay. And let us know how Frank sounds as well, guys.
How's it going?
It is going. So I'm gonna go here. Oh gosh. Okay. Good evening, KC5HWB, along with
KG5AHJ.
And this is Ham Radio 2.0.
And my radio voice.
Oh yeah, yeah, your radio voice. So full quieting in the YouTube Truck Central says. So thanks everybody for who's joining us. I don't like this pop-out chat. It didn't tell me how many are watching.
No.
So keep me updated on how many are
45.
watching. 45. Okay, that's a good number.
That live notification went out. And people
Good.
Are dialing
Yeah.
out.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. And I actually got my my preview stream to work correctly. So which is actually much easier in Streamlabs OBS than it is.
Preview stream?
Well, like I set up this the URL for this stream 2 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to actually use this URL instead of just starting a fresh stream. So the one that everybody was looking at is the one that's actually running right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, good. So let's, did I bring my, oh yeah, here they are. Okay, good. I got that. I'll get to that in a second. So let's say hi to everybody in the chat. KN6DXV, Alan, good evening. Jason Jenkins, Aaron Ray, W0RHP Phillip, good to have you in there today. Nick Pixel, good to have you in there. Steven, KG5OKB, and Crockett, good evening. Glad to have you in there. KN4MMA. MMA, what a call sign. Don't mess with that dude. KS3M, WE1SAX, K2NGX. Good evening. I think David Wilson, see you in there. Joe Framo, good to see you again tonight. Let's see, a lot of these are just people repeating. So shout out your call sign, NK5T. Shout out your call sign in the chat if you've not done so already. It's good to have everybody in there tonight. KB0TS. Jim, WE1SAX. Jim, I saw your last name, and I put two and two together about who you were. Jim Payant, WE1SAX. He is the proud winner of the Anytone D578 radio from my giveaway I did.
All right.
So
he's shipped off already?
Oh yeah, he shipped it off. He's got it. He's he was working on getting it configured. He sent me a couple emails.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Oh, I got it done. It's working."
Right.
So
that is great.
Really great. Really great to hear all that. So thank you for being here again tonight. KJ4PIU, N4XLD, KK4 Ray. Let's see.
Oh, helps if I scroll down to the bottom where they're popping up.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
KJ6ZEE, KD4HCT. James is in the house. WA5DKW, good to have you out there. KD2RDH, KG7OHORH, and yeah, good deal. Thanks everybody. Good evening from N5REL. Jason could use a refill, it would appear. Oh, yeah.
Yep, I was
yeah.
about to read that out.
I actually haven't This is going to be my first fill.
Yep.
So, all right, good. So what are we drinking tonight, Frank? Go ahead and introduce us to the beer of the night, because Frank picked these up on a business trip, so these are non-Texas brews.
Well, I was talking to Philip in your craft chat over there on the Discord. Last week, they shipped me off to Oklahoma City, and the only thing I could think to do in Oklahoma City is, go out and start visiting some breweries. This is the one I liked, man. There's two brothers at the bar when I went there that day.
Okay.
And, man, they were a hoot. Oh, man, it was fun. I really enjoyed it. So
Twisted Spike Brewing in Oklahoma City.
I was about to post that in the
awesome
link there, but it's Twisted Spike Brewery. I'm posting the link in our super chat. Do pull them up if you're in the area. Great beer. They had great bartenders. There was a awesome golden retriever dog.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, man. She would just come up there and love you to death. And
good.
Time, give her any type of attention.
Okay.
But I did bring you back To Bean or Not To Bean. It is a coffee chocolate stout.
Coffee chocolate stout. You're speaking my language here.
Yeah. I had a sample of it, and I was like, this is totally Jason.
Yeah.
And I brought back for myself Rose Rock.
Cool. What kind of... That looks like some kind of dark ale or something.
Yep, I think it's a dark red ale.
Dark red ale, okay. Awesome. Yeah, this is actually a porter, not a stout. But it's almost the same thing. Porter brewed with natural flavors, made with whole vanilla beans and cold brewed French roast coffee. So it doesn't actually say anything about chocolate, but you said you got hints of chocolate when you tried
hints
it.
Of chocolate.
That's not uncommon.
Mine is an Irish-style red ale.
Okay, then.
I didn't know they had the descriptions on the back.
Yeah, they sure do.
I would have read these.
Not everybody
first.
does that, so that's good that they do that. Very good. So,
a Galaxy dried hopped red ale, doubled the normal amount of roasted barley, gives it a good color and a smooth finish. Mine's a 5.5%.
Mine's a 5.8. Okay, that's not too bad.
Only 24 in the IBUs.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Good. So
down in my world.
Yeah. Okay, so Philip answered a question for somebody. It looks like Nick Goldman. I didn't see what his question was. Oh yeah, what's the subject? There it is. Okay, yes, Philip, I saw your answer before I saw Nick's question. Yes, DMR 101. In fact, we're going to go to this here in just a second. This is what I'll be presenting on tonight. Let me make sure I got the chat up here so I can see it correctly. But yeah, that's what we're going to be presenting on tonight. I have given this DMR presentation at HamCom, our largest Hamfest in Texas, for the last 4 or 5 years, something like that. And it's evolved a little bit over the years. It's not exactly the same as it was when I first wrote it. And I gave it at Orlando Hamcation a couple of years ago, and I've given it at various clubs around the North Texas area. I gave it down in Crockett, Texas. KG50KB in the chat. He was gracious enough to invite me down there. I did it down there.
Crockett, Texas.
Crockett, yeah.
Where's that?
It's about... it's out by about due east of Magnolia.
Okay.
Which the Buc-ee's that we stop at on the way to Galveston, which is about halfway between here and Galveston. If that's Magnolia, so I'm sorry, Madisonville. I said Magnolia, Madisonville. So that's Madisonville right there, and you just take a highway due east from there for about 30 minutes, I think it is, and Crockett's right there. So it's out there, sort of close to Lufkin. And kind of out there in the middle of north of the west, what's considered the West Gulf Coast. So, yeah, that's where that is. Ooh, somebody from Canada, VA3DLO. Thanks for joining us here. So let me taste this. Oh yeah, I can see what I can tell what like a cocoa flavor more than chocolate. But yes, I totally see it. Yeah, cold brew. That's good. I like that.
Yeah, that was the best brewery. I visited about 4 or 5 breweries up there. About one a night.
Okay.
And
so you're gonna have to send this link because you told them you were going. So tell that story. No. Tell the story when you told them we were going online with the beer.
Online? Oh,
yeah, right before we started.
Yeah, the one of the brothers, I forgot his name. I feel bad. I should have written it down. I was buying a beer. I was like, man, the chocolate one, the roasted chocolate one for Jason, to bean or not to bean. And I was like, my friend would really like that. So I'll kind of just give me a can of that. He goes, all right. He comes out and with a 4-pack. I was like, what? You don't have to do this, man. He's like, you're awesome. You're cool tonight. You love my dog. It's an awesome dog. I was like, man, you're going to see this on YouTube. Then he comes out with another 4-pack. Let me do a variety pack and just puts all the cans on there. But definitely, if you're in Oklahoma City, please check these guys out.
Yeah, check these guys out.
They were super nice to me, and some of the best beer I drank around the city.
Yeah. Yeah, good to know. Good to know. Thanks for that. Yeah, so you'll have to send him the link to this video and at least tell him to watch the first 10 or 15 minutes because he probably won't care about ham radio after that. But you never know. You never know. I also want to give a shout out to a couple of guys who sent me QSL cards this week. KD9HQD, Bruce from Wisconsin, sent me this QSL card. Yeah, that's showing up correctly. Sometimes you got to wonder with the green screen. He sent this because he worked me on my TI-7 Costa Rica station on upper sideband. So this is one of the stations that I worked when I was actually in Costa Rica on October 24th. So that's pretty cool. And then I got one from DL4CH in Germany. That looks okay in the green screen. Worked him on FT8 on November 24th, it looks like. So that was pretty cool. I always like getting QSL cards from foreign countries. U.S. QSL cards are good too. In fact, I recorded an episode about QSL cards that I haven't posted yet. So
and people are still sending old style postcards.
Oh yes,
yeah, I know.
yeah. So I get EQSLs in the email, of course, and stuff on QRZ. I get that too. But these are cool because I'm actually going to post some on my wall and use them for a background in my videos. So
like
I'm looking forward
Last
to
Man
that.
Standing.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, sort of like that.
A lot of that lately.
I got my last one here is from SM3LGO from Sweden.
Ooh.
That was pretty cool. Worked him on FT8 on November 22nd. So Mats is his name from Sweden. So thank you for sending those QSL cards. Maybe we can have QSL Corner. I'm going to coin that phrase, QSL Corner.
I like it.
On the live streams upcoming. So good deal. So, okay, so tonight's DMR 101. And like I said, this is a presentation I've given several times, a dozen or more times probably. And it's evolved a little bit over the last few years. Put your questions in the chat. If you do a donation, click on the little dollar sign at the bottom of the chat window. You can click on that and do a donation of whatever increment you want, $1 or more, and ask your question. Those will get moved to the top of the list. Now, you don't have to do a donation to ask a question. Ask any questions you want to. It's fine.
That's why I'm here.
That's why Frank's here.
Frank's going to be watching the super chat,
right,
and gathering all the questions up, and I'll be asking them throughout the show tonight. And also, you were talking about donations and everything. You do have a Patreon.
Yeah, I saw somebody ask for that earlier. So the link to the Patreon's in the chat as well. I see Rob's in the house for 741. There he is. Good evening, Rob. Good to have you on the stream tonight. Rob's going to be Rob's part of our YouTubers Bunch group. In fact, tomorrow our next YouTubers Bunch video will post, which was recorded a couple weeks ago. We're starting to get together about once a month, and we sit down and we try to talk about 2 different subjects. We try to record 2 videos at the same time so that we can get double efficiency out of our time. So the next YouTubers Bunch video will post tomorrow evening, and it is going to be a follow-up to our ARRL discussion.
Ooh.
And that was a really popular video. I got a lot of really good feedback on that first ARRL video. If you have a link to that,
I could go ahead and get it
if you can find a link to that, you can post that in the chat. But we had a lot. I mean, like that first video was like 45 minutes or an hour long, so I tried to make the second one a little bit shorter. But it got a lot of people came by and were talking poorly about the ARRL, but they didn't do it in a rude way. They said, "Hey guys, thanks for this video. This is really great. I don't like the ARRL, and here's why. And that's okay. That's okay. It was an open discussion. It was not a problem. No one was rude. No one was insulting or anything. But there were people who did and did not like ARRL, but everybody was very positive on the video comments. So yeah, okay. Frank just posted it in the chat there. That's our first YouTubers Bunch ARRL video. From the YouTube description on that video, you get links to all the different people's, all the different YouTubers channels specifically, including Rob 741. So go search YouTube for 741, and you can see his channel. He does some ham radio stuff, but he does a lot of other stuff as well.
And we do also throughout the week, if you want to chat ham radio with us, we do have a Discord. I'm on it when I'm not too busy. I wasn't on it too much throughout last week, other than the craft beer sub channel. I was talking to Philip on there, trying to find some good breweries in Oklahoma City. We'll go ahead and posted that also.
A couple of people are saying you're not loud enough in the chat, and I think what it is I'm closer to my mic than you are. So
sorry.
No, that's okay. I moved back a bit. Yeah, you guys post that in the chat if there's a problem with the sound or something. KE0YRP, been a technician for 2 days. Congratulations.
Awesome.
On your new call sign.
Mm-hmm.
His name's Jason, so he's got to be a great dude. And he's got to be probably even more awesome than you are.
Jason's have big egos. Frank's also have big egos.
Frank's also have big egos, yeah. So congratulations on your new license. I'm in the process of posting our general upgrade class, which is good. Which has
I thought you posted the majority of that last week.
I posted the first 4.
4?
Okay. So
you're splitting it up.
I'm splitting it up.
Okay.
Okay. So what I did was, yes, there was 3 nights, right?
Yes.
But each night was 2 to 3 hours.
Yes.
So after I posted the first, after I kind of edited the first one, I put the whole. It was almost 3. It was like 2 hours and 58 minutes or something like that. And I'm like, man, what if I split it up into like 3 segments of 45 minutes to an hour each?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did. So the first night of almost 3 hours worth of video is split up into 3 videos. The second night will be 3 videos, and the third night will be at least 2, if not 3 videos. So it's going to be like a 7 or 8 or maybe 9 part event once it's all done. I've got the first 4 parts done now, posted. The 5th part is posted, but it hadn't published yet, and I'm going to try to get that finished up next week. So, but that'll be a little bit easier for people to swallow. You won't have to sit down and watch 2 hours of video, and or watch part of it and then go back to it later and figure out where you left off and kind of fast forward and whatnot. It'll be 45 minutes here, 35 minutes here, that kind of thing. So, really happy that the Hearst Amateur Radio Club, w5hrc.org. Allowed me to record that again. That question pool is good from 2019 to 2023.
Ooh.
So it'll be good for next 4 years, 3.5, 4 years, something like that, and be able to study it and get your general upgrade. So
up to 80.
Good.
And
awesome.
A couple of shout outs that I've taken down here.
Okay.
Howdy to Don from Canada. VA3DLO.
I shouted him out a minute ago.
Oh,
but that's okay.
Yep.
That's great.
And then Lee from Sydney. VK2 FATS.
All right. Sweet.
Do they have 2x4 down there?
If it's a special event call sign, something like that. Oh, K8MRD's in the house. Glad to see you in there, Mike.
Then we got also Chris, NK5T.
Good. Thank you for thanks for being here. Okay, so DMR 101. This is basically introduction to DMR. It's geared towards somebody who does not know anything about DMR. Maybe you've heard about it. You don't know. You've heard all these terms. You don't know what they are. We're going to go through a definition of terms tonight, and that kind of thing. So probably on our next live stream, which should be like January 3rd.
Okay.
We're probably going to do something for like Christmas, end of the year, what's coming for 2020, something like that. And then the following live stream in January 19th, I think it is, which is my anniversary. So I may have to push that back a week, but to be determined on that. I'm going to do my second, what's called Understanding DMR Networks. It's kind of like a DMR 102 or 201, however you want to say that. So I'll do my second part in about a month from now. So, but this is the DMR 101 digital mobile radio presented by myself, KC5HWP. Special thanks to Kent Weeks, WA5YXS, and Larry Shaffron, N5LS, because when I was first getting into DMR in 2013, they helped me. They answered questions for me and helped me understand it, and got me started where I needed to be. So special thanks to both of those guys for this.
Now this is a special version of it's not all digital mobile radio. That's what DMR stands for.
Right.
It's not. It's what's the Fusion is a different type of digital.
Right. So it's
radio.
So it's you've got Fusion, you've got D-Star, you've got P25, you've got NXDN and DMR, and they're all different types of digital voice over IP modes. Well, digital voice over radio modes. You can do them over IP or you can not do them over IP. And we'll get into that a little bit later. Jason asks, are you going to Dayton in May? Yes, I will be at Dayton this year. I will absolutely be at Dayton this year. Going to... we're going to do something different at Dayton this year. I'm going to leave it at that because we don't have any plans nailed down yet. But be looking for some more information about Dayton in the upcoming months. So, let's see. Okay, I think we're good.
You're good.
All right, so let's go down here. Obviously, that's me. When I give this presentation, I tell people to go check out my YouTube channel. You guys are already here, so I'll just bypass that.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you for joining. We do have in Texas, we do have our own website, dmr-texas.net, where we keep a list of all the repeaters that are in the state of Texas, their locations, frequencies, color codes, what time slot and talk group assignments there are on them. I'd say this list at any given time is about 95+% accurate. We try to keep it updated as much as we can. I do reach out to all the repeater owners in the state, and I say, hey, please just, every now and then go through and make sure we still have your information correctly listed on the website. We do a weekly net on the Texas statewide talk group through all the repeaters in Texas. We usually have anywhere from 30 to 60 check-ins, which is good.
What night's that on?
Wednesday nights, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And it is a Texas net limited to a Texas talk group. So it's not a worldwide net that's piped out everywhere. Usually only people with repeaters in Texas can get into it. There are some connections from repeaters in other states and other parts of the country. But it's really geared towards being a net for Texas residents. So that is R.D. Mercer.
Yep. Yep.
Smoking Ape's in the house. Good evening, Ape. Glad you could catch up with us. Catching up 1.5 speed. Mm-hmm. That's good. Pecan beers at Texas. I drank a beer yesterday called Pecan Brownie. That was a stout. That was fantastic.
Really?
Yeah.
Where was
more
that?
about that. Turning Point.
Okay, of course. Yep.
Turning Point. And that was when we were there yesterday.
Yep.
So, okay, so dmr-texas.net is where we keep a bunch of stuff. We do have also a National Code Plug database list, a page on that website where you can drill down and you can go search by state. They're in alphabetical order, and then we don't have every state listed. We've reached out to people in those states, so if you're in a state and you go to the National Code Plugs database on our dmr-texas.net website and you say, hey, my information for my state's not here, reach out to us, connect to us through the website. We'd be happy to list you out there. So, let's see. So what is digital mobile radio? It is a European telecommunication standards, what's called ETSI standard, that was ratified in 2005 to meet the 12.5 kilohertz channel spacing and 6.25 kilohertz regulatory equivalency standards for narrowband. So when stuff started all going narrowband in the public world, in the public sector a few years back, it was ratified to meet that. It uses 2 time slot TDMA, time division multiple access, which is basically old cell phone technology. Before LTE and GSM and 3G and all this stuff, before CDMA, they had TDMA, and the technology itself is still used, although not in the cell phone market. Not much in the cell phone, not in the United States anyway. It does use 4-level FSK modulation, and it has cutting-edge forward error correction technology. Forward error correction is one of the test questions on the extra exam right now. So it's usually talking about digital modes and APRS forward error correction, but DMR uses that as well.
One second on your first bullet point there.
Okay.
You got me into a system that was designed in Europe.
It was ratified in Europe. In other words, they put it all together and made it work the way that it does today. It wasn't really designed in Europe.
I'm done with DMR.
Oh, okay, whatever. It's a worldwide standard. DMR is the Linux of digital voice modes because it's open source. Anybody can use it, and it's not tied to a proprietary format. So, that is that. Let's see. Okay, yeah, keep watching on questions in the chat. You guys ask your questions in the chat if you have any. In DMR, there are basically 3 tiers: Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. Tier 1, we don't really use a whole lot in the United States. Some people call it DPMR. Sometimes it's called DMR Tier 1. Sometimes it's called DPMR 446 overseas. Basically, it's an unlicensed digital mode. It's not TDMA. It's single time slot. It is narrowband, but it's more of an FDMA channel. So overseas, I'm told, that you can go into like a Walmart or something and purchase like an FRS type radio that is digital. And a lot of times it's one of these standards, DPMR, DMR Tier 1, something like that. And it's unlicensed. In other words, you don't have to have a license to talk on it. It's completely open to everyone, like Citizens Band or Family Radio Service or something like that, or MERS. So you can use it that way. And, you don't have to go get a license for it. Many times, well, not many times, this standard is available in the United States. I'll point up this way because that's what it looks right in the camera. This standard's available in the United States. You can buy these radios on Amazon, and you can use them. There's nothing that says we can't use them, but they won't work with any of the repeaters or hotspots we use today in the United States. So DMR Tier 2 is what is standard DMR. It is 2 time slot, which basically what that does is it takes that 12.5 kilohertz frequency, it splits it into 6.25 kilohertz frequencies, 6.25 segments of the same frequency, put it like that. And it's time division. So basically when one of those time slots is keyed up and one is unkeyed, they switch like this. And they do this about 33 times a second. And the human ear can't hear the switching. You can't hear it. But what this does is this allows you to have a conversation here while another conversation here is going on, and they don't interfere with one another because they just keep switching back and forth. 6.25 here, 6.25 here on the same 12.5 kilohertz standard of the same frequency on the same repeater with the same coordinated frequency pair, and you've got 2 conversations going on at the same time, and they do not interfere with one another. It's one of the reasons that this is something that DMR has that none of the other digital standards have. You can do this in P25 Phase 2, for those of you out there who are familiar with that. P25 Phase 2 equipment is incredibly expensive. It's made for police and fire departments and government officials and whatnot, so DMR is not the only TDMA system out there, but it is by far the most economical one. IP Site Connect is a Motorola protocol that connects IP devices together over a network or the internet or a LAN or a WAN or something like that. DMR Tier 3 is the same as Tier 2 except it incorporates trunking. We don't really use trunking in amateur radio, but as I said, DMR is a public standard. It was developed as a commercial standard, and Hams took it and we said, hey, we can improve on this, and that's what's happened. But DMR Tier 3 would take a trunked system and double its capacity because now you have this bank of 8 or 10 or 12 or 15 trunked frequencies, and you take it and you turn them all into DMR, and instead of using them on analog, you use them on DMR. Well, now you got 2 time slots on those trunked frequencies, so it doubles your channel capacity for your police department or fire department or something like that. But DMR Tier 3 is not really used in amateur radio. So, DMR versus the other modes. DMR is TDMA with 4-level FSK, which is a type of C4FM. A lot of times people will say, C4FM, that's fusion. Well, yes, it is, but that's not the only C4FM out there. A 4-level FSK can be used in multiple types of modes. The original codec, voice decoder for DMR was an AMB plus 2 codec. Fusion is FDMA, which is frequency division multiple access. with 4-level FSK, uses the same codec, and Ambi Plus 2. That's why if you've ever listened to a fusion system on digital narrow mode or a DMR repeater, they sound almost virtually the same. They sound almost exactly the same, and that's why, because they're both using the same codec, voice decoders. D-Star uses an Ambi codec, the original version of D-Star. D-Star has been upgraded. They use an Ambi 3000 now. All of your newer D-Star radios use Ambi 3000, but it's a form of GMSK modulation that's similar to GSM cell phones. This is one reason, it's not the only reason, but it's one reason why your hotspots won't translate D-Star to Fusion or Fusion to D-Star or D-Star to DMR or DMR to D-Star. You can always do a translation of YSF to DMR and back, but you can't translate D-Star to something else and back. I kind of think that maybe they'll come up with a system at some point in the future that changes this, but as of now, you can't do it. In an XLS reflector system, you can set it up to do that, but it takes a lot of steps or a lot of hoops to jump through. It's not as easy as it is in like a Pi-Star operating system. P25 Phase 1 is FDMA with 4-level FSK and an IMBE codec. P25 Phase 2 is FDMA with the new TDMA implementations, Ambi Plus 2 codec, and uses a CQ-PSK modulation very similar to C4FM. So it's very similar to DMR, although all the equipment made for P25, both Phase 1 and Phase 2, is much more expensive than what most ham operators want to spend, at least for new equipment. We've got 3 or 4 UHF P25 Phase 1 repeaters on amateur radio frequencies in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I've talked on 2 of them. So P25 is used in amateur radio. There's several down in the Houston area as well. It's just not as widely used as what DMR is. Other modes include IDAS, DPMR, which we spoke about, and NXDN. NXDN and IDAS. IDAS is ICOM's commercial version. NXDN is Kenwood's commercial version. I'm told those two are compatible with one another and will cross-talk to one another. I've never tried it, but I'm told that will work. How many are we up to right now?
Still holding strong at 85.
Cool. That's a good number. Digital versus analog.
I got a couple good questions for you later.
Okay. Okay, good. So digital versus analog. Mike, you can do that. That's not unusual, but he's saying that he's in a secret group that has D-Star, Fusion, DMR all talking to each other. Yeah, you can even incorporate All-Star and analog into that, and NXDN and a couple other things. That's not impossible to do, but a Pi-Star hotspot won't do it by itself. You got to put in 2 or 3 other pieces to make that happen. But yes, that's totally possible to do. So digital versus analog. Preliminary tests in Texas have shown that a digital signal will travel about 20 to 25% farther than an analog signal. The farther away you get from the repeater, the more scratch you get, snap, crackle, pop, noise in your transmission. This is true on simplex also. With DMR, it's either there or not. With digital, it's either there or not. So you could be standing underneath the repeater, or you could be 10 miles from the repeater, and if you've got line of sight and clear signal into that repeater, you're going to sound exactly the same here as you would here. There is no degradation of signal. There's no fading. There's no static. There's no nothing. It's just the DMR signal, D-Star signal, Fusion signal into the repeater, and it's there or it's not. It's ones and zeros. It's off and on. There is interference from stuff like elevations, buildings, trees, foliage, and that kind of stuff. So sometimes you can get what's called pixelization, and it kind of sounds like a warbly. Some people call it an R2-D2 type sound, but there's
Cylon.
Yeah, Cylon. Yeah, like a Cylon. But it doesn't get. You're never going to hear someone saying, "Oh man, you got too much noise on top of your signal," because there's too much static in your signal, like there is on analog. So that's that, and that's that. That's those two.
What was while you're talking about analog?
Yeah.
VA3D or Don from our chat is asking, can you do simplex with DMR?
Yes, you can, and I have a slide on that upcoming.
All right.
So we'll get to that. Yeah, you can totally do simplex with DMR.
And do you know how to program that on the radio by hand?
Depends on
also
the radio.
For Don.
Depends on the radio.
I just said easiest way to do it is with the programming software.
Mm-hmm. Right. So this is a graphical representation that I got from Kent WA5YXS that basically just shows what it would take for you to have two separate conversations at the same time. It's two repeaters with combining equipment and using the same antenna. I can't point like that, but the same antenna system here, and then you'd have two coordinated frequency pairs for two different conversations, two different radio groups. With a TDMA system, you have one repeater, one antenna, one frequency pair, and with the TDMA separation, you can still have two conversations that go on at the same time. Just kind of like a graphical representation of what I just said. So there are different networks on DMR, and this confuses a lot of people. dmr-marc is one network. They're on a C bridge, and there are multiple C bridges throughout the United States and Canada, and even some overseas. A C bridge does not mean dmr-marc. dmr-marc is one C bridge. They were the first C bridge in the United States for DMR in amateur radio. But just because someone says they're on a C bridge does not mean they're on dmr-marc. In fact, most of the time, they're probably not on dmr-marc.
What's the C bridge do for you?
I'm going to get to that.
All right.
You need to be patient.
Well, I'm sorry.
Have another drink.
I've been drinking.
So dmr-marc was the first in the USA. They created the C bridge. Well, they didn't create the C bridge. Motorola didn't own the C bridge, but they used a C bridge to interconnect. And C bridge is basically just a gateway hub. It connects repeaters together over the internet and acts as like a gateway. It can connect two or three C bridges can connect together. You can connect a C bridge to another network outside somewhere, and it's basically a big complex router or gateway. Brandmeister came along in about 2015, and they allowed not only Motorola repeaters, but Hytera repeaters, and they allowed hotspots, and they had some talk groups interconnected between Brandmeister and C-Bridge, dmr-marc, DMR-X, DCI Turbo. Some of those talk groups interconnected, and some of them are not. I need to update this slide because I realize that DMR Plus is the old Hytera network, which is it's used quite a bit overseas. In the United States, it's still used some, but not as much as it was. TGIF is another network that's out there. So if you ever go into Pi-Star and you see hit the drop-down server menu, you'll see some TGIF servers in there. TGIF is another network that's out there as well.
Can these networks intercommunicate?
Yes, and many times they do. Many times they can talk to one another. You can connect Brandmeister to a C bridge or TGIF to a C bridge, and that kind of thing. So yeah, you can interconnect. Some talk groups are interconnected and some are not. So it just depends on what the network guys want to do. Let's see. Time slots and talk groups. So the time slot is basically the 6.25 kilohertz, time slot 1 and time slot 2 on the same frequency that you're talking about. So you can have a list of talk groups on time slot 1 and a list of talk groups on time slot 2, and the time slot is what separates the two segments from crashing into one another, where you can have two conversations on the same frequency at the same time. A talk group is nothing more than a room. They're called reflectors in D-Star. They're called rooms in Wires X. It's a group. Generally, in DMR, your talk group is segregated one of two ways. It's either going to be geographical location. So we have a Dallas-Fort Worth Metro talk group and a Texas statewide talk group. There's an Oklahoma statewide, Louisiana statewide, California, New York, Florida. There's 51 statewide talk groups in the United States, the 51st being Washington, D.C. There's Canadian talk groups. There's regional talk groups. And there's the second way you can segregate a talk group is by language. There's English talk groups, French, German, Russian, Spanish, Portuguese, all kinds of different talk groups. So there's talk groups segregated by geographical location and talk groups segregated by language. So depending on where and who you want to talk to is what you would choose your talk group. It's basically the same thing as a room or a reflector on D-Star. So you can connect to 2 Charlie on D-Star, 13 Foxtrot, some of the other ones. I don't have all the D-Star stuff memorized, but a talk group on DMR is the same thing. It accomplishes the same goal that a reflector on D-Star does. Okay, I thought you were going to say something.
Nope, you're good.
So yeah, this is a list of some of them. Local, statewide, regional, North America, worldwide English, tactical talk groups 310, 311, and 312. You got an all-star talk groups. You've got Fusion Link talk groups and that kind of stuff. So people are talking about hotspots.
Yep.
Hotspots have their play. Let me since people are talking about hotspots right here.
There's two questions. Jim and Erwin
Okay.
kind of asked. They thought hotspots allowed you to crosstalk between D-Star Fusion and DMR.
No, hotspots will allow you to talk from DMR to Fusion or Fusion to DMR, not to D-Star. So you can do crosstalk to what's called YSF, Yaesu System Fusion, or to DMR, or DMR to YSF. So you can do those two, but you can't do D-Star. So let me talk about hotspots, since people are talking about hotspots, and Mike's in there saying hotspots are where it's at. Well, that is wrong. You are wrong, sir. You may slap yourself now. So nothing wrong with a hotspot. Okay, I've talked about hotspots a bunch. I've done a bunch of hotspot review videos on this channel. There's going to be a lot more hotspot review videos upcoming on this channel. The DX Mini is great. Robert's hotspot K4, gosh, I lost it. WZ Victor, his hotspot's good. It's on my channel. The next gen hotspots are decent hotspots. ZoomSpot makes a really good system. Hotspots are good, okay, but let's put everything in its place, okay? A hotspot is not going to take the place of a $2,000 commercial grade repeater. Basic physics. Your $150 hotspot that has a duty cycle of like a minute and a half is not going to take the place of a 50-watt repeater with a 100% duty cycle to be keyed down all day long.
But I thought
it does not work.
The hotspots was kind of like a like an access point for a localized access point into the network.
That's exactly right. A hotspot's great for if you don't have a repeater in your area, or if you have a repeater and you can't get into it, or if you're trying to get from here to your repeater or something like that. Hotspots have their place, okay? But a network built out of hotspots is going to be a poor comparison to a network built out of commercial grade repeaters. Motorola, Hytera, Bridgecom repeaters, okay? Hotspots cannot take the place of a repeater. They supplement the network quite well. They supplement the network very well. A network built out of hotspots is going to sound like crap. So just keep that in mind. And some people may say, well, I don't agree with. That's okay. You don't have to agree. But that's how it works. A $200 hotspot, $300 hotspot, you can't compare it to a $1,000, $1,500 commercial grade repeater. Simple physics. You can't compare a $500 Zygu to a $1,500 Elecraft. They both do the same thing, but the Elecraft is far better quality. Okay, you can't compare a Baofeng UV5R to a Kenwood D74.
What's wrong with the Baofeng? That's my
They
radio.
both do the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, but the quality is uncomparable. There's no question about which one's better quality. So, yes, they have their place. I like hotspots. I've got about 8 of them. Okay? So I'm not dogging hotspots. I'm just saying grain of salt, okay? So, we'll go on to the next. Whoa. On to the next one. So a zone
Well, Jim just wanted to point out hotspots rely on Wi-Fi or cell data to get into the DMR network too.
Well, yes, but so does a repeater.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, but most of the time your repeater is hardlined. Okay, but you can hardline a lot of hotspots. Yeah, this one right here, it's got an Ethernet port right there, so you could hardline this hotspot in there too. But
that's the DX Mini.
That's one of the DX Minis. So yeah. Yeah, they don't use hardly any. It's just digital voice. They don't use hardly any data at all. So let's move on. So zones is a way to separate your channels inside of your code plug. We're going to get to what a code plug is here in a second. The term zones confuses people sometimes. So a zone is just like if your radio will hold 3,000 channels, then instead of having to turn your knob or hit your button up and down from 1 to 3,000, you can separate those channels into zones so that you can say, okay, here's a zone for Dallas. Here's a zone for Fort Worth. Here's a zone for Oklahoma City. Here's a zone for Dayton, Ohio. For when I go out there, I want to keep all my channels for Dayton, Ohio in one zone. And it's a quicker way to navigate through your code plug and through your channels to get to where you want to be in your radio. A color code is for all intents and purposes, it does the exact same thing that a digital PL tone does. Okay, a repeater on color code 1 and a repeater on color code 2 will not interfere with one another if their coordinated frequency pairs are close to one another. Okay, so you have to set a color code on your repeater or on your hotspot. You can't go codeless or toneless, but the purpose of a color code is the exact same purpose of a CTC-SS tone or a PL tone or a digital PL tone. It prevents interference from one to the other. So you just have to know what color code your repeater is on, and you can actually some of the original hotspots were all set to color code 1. You couldn't change it. That's been updated now. You can set different color codes in Pi-Star and on the open spot and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of gone away.
Back on zones, Ethan was asking, is a zone specific to DMR?
No, you can set zones in.
Or is that the zones is just their terminology for grouping?
It's their term. I think maybe RT Systems uses zones. I think. I'm not sure. There's some other analog programming software. It might be Chirp even. I don't remember. But no, it's not specific. You can set up zone. I can set up zones in my ICOM ID 5100 radio for analog channels. Mm-hmm. So you can do those zones in the Anytone radio that you have. You can do zones in it.
No, yeah, I've done that.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if it's a terminology specific to DMR or is it zones, or the idea of grouping is not specific to DMR because there's a bunch of other ways.
Correct. No, it's not. It's not specific to DMR. No, it was an old commercial radio term from back in the day, which so was color code and so was promiscuous mode, some of this other stuff. But that's what a color code is. Color codes are 0 through 15, so there's 16 choices and that's it. And like I said, you can't choose to turn the color code off and have it work. It has to be part of the programming.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
it's probably 1 byte.
Code plug. Now this one's a term that confuses people. A code plug is no more than a computer programming file that's saved on your hard drive that's used to write data to your radio, okay? If anyone has ever used, this is the part of the presentation where I'll ask people, has anyone in the room ever used Chirp or RT Systems to program a radio? And generally about 25 to 50% of the people raise their hand. The file that when you open up Chirp and you put it on all your repeaters, you go to File Save as Bofang, Waxon, whatever, and today's date or whatever you name the file, that file that's saved on your hard drive is a code plug.
Glorified spreadsheet.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a mini database is basically what it is. It's just a computer file that writes data to your radio. That's all a code plug is. The term code plug is an old commercial radio Motorola term. Also, used to be on Part 90 radios, you had a physical plug that you would plug into the side of the radio and open up all this programming. You could program the radio you want to. You take the plug out of the radio, put the radio back in the fire department vehicle, police department vehicle. That way they couldn't change the programming. They could change channels and whatnot, but they couldn't change the programming on it. So the term code plug's I think it's a Motorola term, but it's a land mobile radio term at least. And it's just a computer file. That's all it is. So if you've ever used Chirp or RT Systems, you've used a code plug. It's just not what it's called in that program, but that's all it is. My nose is really itching tonight. So... receive groups are kind of outdated now because used to be, before promiscuous mode was a thing, used to be you could set up receive groups. So you could basically, if you had 10 talk groups available in time slot 1 and 20 talk groups available in time slot 2, you could set a receive group so that it would monitor all of these talk groups at the same time no matter which channel you were on. So if you had channel on channel 1, then it would listen to channel 1, but it would listen to also channel 2 through 9 or 2 through 10, however many it was. So you could set them up in receive groups so you could always hear activity on the time slot. These days with promiscuous mode, these aren't really used much anymore because promiscuous mode is usually just a button. You press a button, it turns on promiscuous mode, and it listens to everything on the time slot already.
Do you have a slide on that?
No.
Okay.
I should add one.
Larry is asking, can you go more in depth in monitoring or promiscuous modes? What it's actually doing?
Well, I don't know the technology on the back end and what it's doing, but it's basic.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
It's just a promiscuous mode. So if you have 20 talk groups on one time slot on a repeater, promiscuous mode opens up the receive capability of your radio so that you can monitor, not scan, but monitor all 20 of those talk groups at the same time, or any activity on that time slot. So if you got 20 talk groups on time slot 2 on this repeater you're listening to, then you can passively monitor all 20 talk groups at the same time. So when someone keys up on any of them, you're going to hear activity. That's what promiscuous mode does. It doesn't really it's not really useful on a hotspot because your hotspot can only have one talk group active at a time. You can actually have two talk groups active at a hotspot at a time because when you kerchunk one and activate it, it stays active. And then if you switch to another one, kerchunk it and activate it, the first one will stay active for 10 minutes before it drops off. At least on Brandmeister, it does that way. I think TGIF may be the same way. So you can kind of have up to two, but it's not like someone's going to come in and start using your hotspot on a talk group that you're not listening to because you're the only one using your hotspot.
Can you go back to the slide with the time slicing when we're talking about these?
Time slicing.
Yeah. Keep going. With the repeaters. Yeah, that one right there. The DTMA system, which is the DMR is using.
TDMA.
Yeah. You have time slot 1 and time slot 2.
Right.
Both of those can be used at the same time.
Correct.
So I have talk group 1 on time slot 1, talk group 2 on time slot 2.
Right.
All right. Those are going. You can have a conversation same time at those.
That's right.
You won't spill over to the other ones.
Nope.
All right. So, but now I got talk group 3 or group ID. What's the term? I'm
talk group.
Talk group. Okay. Talk group 3.
Yeah.
I got that signed to time slot 1 also.
Uh-huh.
When someone's keying up on talk group 1, you can't key up talk group 3 because it's using time slice 1.
That talk group's available to the time slot, but the only one talk group can be used at a time.
On the time slot.
Correct, on the time slot.
So even though I have 2 different talk groups on that time slot, you got to wait for the frequency to be free or that time slot be free to transmit on it.
That's right. So you can have up to 2 conversations on a repeater or a hotspot, a dual time slot hotspot at one time. You can't have more. Even though you have access to more talk groups than that, you can't have 2 active at the same time, more than 2 active at the same time talk groups. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you do key it up, it will bonk you, right?
Right, yeah. You usually get a bonk tone that says something like a low tone that means basically,
and
hey, I can't key up right now.
Work on only with repeaters.
It's not that it doesn't work. It's just that it's not useful because generally speaking, there's only one talk group that's going to be active on your hotspot at a time. Now, what you can do in the Brandmeister dashboard is you can go in and activate multiple talk groups and say these talk groups are static on my hotspot. So you can go in there, and I don't know if there's a limit to that or not, honestly. I know you can have more than 2. So you can, let's just say you can have 5, okay? So you can go into the Brandmeister dashboard, and you can say, I want talk groups 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 all active on my time slot 1 on my hotspot, or time slot 2 on my hotspot, okay? Fine. Then monitor mode would be quite useful. Yes, then you can do that. But if you're just using your hotspot to talk into 1 or 2 talk groups, which most people do, you know, a lot of people are like, well, I have access to 1,500 talk groups. I mean, that's great. How many do you use? 3. Okay, then. So it's useful if you set it up that way. If you just use it by default, then everything's dynamic. If you never log into your Brandmeister dashboard and change it, then everything's dynamic. And if everything's dynamic, then monitor doesn't really do anything because you're only talking on 1 at a time because there's only one talk group active at one time.
I hope we've answered your question there, Mike. If not, go ahead and re-ask, and I will bring it back up again. I just wanted more clarity on that also.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead and continue.
Yeah, let's move on. Somebody asked about simplex earlier.
Yep.
When DMR first dropped, there was a rumor out there that it wouldn't work on simplex, which is untrue. I mean, it's just simply not true. Never has been true. You can use DMR simplex from radio to radio without a hotspot, without a repeater, just like you can in analog radio. No difference, except that it sounds better and it reaches out further. So these were designated by some other people who were brand new into DMR as kind of the standard. Now, you don't have to use these frequencies, and you don't have to use this time slot and color code. But if you want to go to the Date and Hamvention and see hear a whole lot of activity on DMR simplex, use these 4 UHF frequencies or 2 VHF frequencies: talk group 99, color code 1, and time slot 1. And there's people talking on those for 3 days solid at the Date and Hamvention, and it's just it's kind of crazy.
Could we use, if we wanted to, me and you try to do our own back channel, do it a time slot 2 on that frequency?
Yeah.
And should still work.
Or you could, yeah, it'll still work.
It's just the standard calling.
It's just
simplex.
the standard calling, yeah. So
It's
we could
always on
also
time
change the
slot
color
1.
code. We could go to color code 10.
Yeah.
and nobody would hear us.
Well,
So
if they put in a monitoring mode, they'll probably pick
not
it
on a
up.
color code.
Not on a color
Not
code?
on a color code. No, it wouldn't work on a color code. Monitor mode works across the time slot, but monitor mode assumes that your repeater hotspot is always on the same color code, and it's correct because you can only put one color code into a hotspot or a repeater at a time. So I don't believe, I've never tried it actually, but I don't believe that monitor will allow you to hear different activity on different color codes. So Mikey asks, why would repeater owners monitor more than 2 talk groups if you can only talk on 2 talk groups at once? Because you don't ever know where someone else is going to be talking. Okay, so if I've got 10 talk groups on time slot 1 and 5 talk groups on time slot 2, and they're talk groups that I want to listen to, but I don't know who's going to key up where at some point in time. So I want to monitor everything and say, oh, that guy's over there. Okay, I don't want to talk to him today, and turn off monitor mode. Go back to the talk group you want to talk to. But if you hear somebody you want to talk to, oh, there they are. So it's a way of scanning without scanning. Basically, it's passive scanning. Sometimes I've called it passive scanning. So, but yeah, DMR simplex is fun. Kent and I, WA5YXS, we got on our, this was a couple years ago, we had 40, 50 watt DMR mobile radios in our vehicles, and we turned over to simplex, and we were talking 30, 35 miles apart on DMR simplex, and was clear as day.
Really?
DMR simplex is quite fun, especially if you're on an HT, then it works great. If you're on a mobile radio, it works even better. Because it is far-reaching, it sounds great, and it's just really fun to use. So, DMR Bridge network. This is it's actually kind of this is the same way that Brandmeister and TGIF work. Your bridging hardware is what controls everything in the center. You can have master and peer repeaters connected to your bridging hardware, and then your bridging hardware is what routes all your talk groups. So none of your programming is actually done in the repeater. The only programming done in the repeater is your frequency and color code. And then you can take your bridging hardware, whether it's a master server or a C bridge or whatever, and you can program your talk groups and say, I want these talk groups sent to time slot 1, these talk groups sent to time slot 2, and it's all done over the internet. So I don't have to go back out to the repeater site every time I want to change, add, or take talk groups away from my repeater system. It's all done on a web-based something.
97 live viewers.
Oh, good.
Three more. Let's get 3 more.
3 more. Yeah. Okay. One of the coolest things, this list here is about 2 years old. One of the coolest things about DMR, in my opinion, is the number of manufacturers worldwide making radios. And all of these guys, you'll recognize a lot of these names. Motorola, Hytera, Kydera, Tytera, TYT. Everybody knows who TYT is. Alenco, Vertex Standard, Anytone, Waxon, Ganton, Tate and Harris up here in the center. These are Motorola competitors. Puxing, they make really good equipment. JVC Kenwood. Kenwood makes DMR radios. They have for a long time. They're just made on the commercial side, and they've got commercial price tags on them. The Kenwood NX5800 is a fantastic commercial-grade mobile radio. In fact, in that radio, you can enable DMR and P25, and you can use it both. It comes with analog and NXDN standard, but you can add P25 and you can add DMR to it. So you've got analog plus 2 digital mode. You can only it has a capability to have 3 digital modes on it, but you can only use 2 at a time. So, but you can. It's a really good cross-functional radio that way. Connect Systems. Most people have heard of Connect Systems. Zastone, Kirison, Xera. Hage is another Motorola competitor. But there's a lot of different companies worldwide. And there's some that are not on this list because, like I said, this list is 2 years old. So that's one of the coolest things about
it's exploding
about DMR radios is because, and I was on Hashnazi's live stream about a month ago, and
Hashnazi,
yeah, Ham Radio Crash Course.
Hashnazi,
that's his username. So I was on his he asked me to come on his live stream about a month or so ago, and he wanted to talk about DMR. I'm like, okay. I'm like, one of the cool things that this I kind of he was asking me all these questions. I kind of came to an epiphany because of something he said. I don't remember what it was right now, but it was like, DMR is the fastest growing digital mode in amateur radio today, and it does not have the backing support of ICOM, Yaesu, or Kenwood. Now think about that. It's growing faster than D-Star. It's growing faster than Fusion. It's not to say that D-Star and Fusion aren't used. That's not what I'm saying. There's a lot of people using both those modes. But DMR doesn't have the backing of any of the big three, and it's growing faster than everything else is. Open source. It's a cool thing. So, that did not... What is that? Oh, there it is. Just take one. These are just pictures of some of the radios. In the top left, there's a Kinetic System CS800. The MD380 or MDUV380 is in the middle there. That's probably the most popular DMR radio and amateur radio is the MDUV380. That's a Puxing. The CS700, which was their original handheld, was one of the first radios to come out specifically for amateur radio and DMR. And at the time, it was like $180 brand new. And your only other option at that time was a used Motorola on eBay for about $350. So those CS700s sold really fast when they were brand new.
So why do you think DMR has been exploding in the area versus other digital codecs like Fusion and D-Star?
It's cheaper to get into.
Cheaper?
It's cheaper to get into. I think that's what it is,
both
yeah.
on the repeaters and on the...
No, just on the hardware, on the end-user hardware, not the repeaters.
Mm-hmm.
No, because a lot of times the repeaters are more expensive, actually. Mm-hmm. But it's kind of like the opposite of Fusion. They sell cheap repeaters and then nail you, and then their mobile radios are even more expensive than the repeater was.
That was Fusion.
That was Fusion, yeah. So, yeah, but no, I just think it's just so inexpensive to get into. So that's one reason. And it sounds really good. I think it sounds great.
That question was from Tim.
Okay. This is the R Finder. That's a picture of the H1C, which is his original radio. And you can find 3 or 4 videos on this channel about the R Finder. You're going to see a new video on the R Finder B1 upcoming in the next week or so. I left it inside. I've got it inside. The B1 is going to be a dual band analog and DMR radio, full Android device, complete Android device. Everything that's on your Android phone now you can put on the R Finder. Plus, it has a built-in 2-way radio. That'll work on simplex. It'll work through a hotspot. It'll work on a repeater.
And it's also a cell phone.
Yeah, it's a full Android cell phone.
Yeah.
It's a full Android device cell phone. Yeah, it's got its own phone number, SIM card, everything. Mm-hmm. Work on Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile.
That's why there's Skype, Facebook, some other type of warning on that screenshot.
Right.
Can you go back real fast? Mm-hmm. Rail had a question on the mobile radio with the color screen. What was that?
That's the old Kydera KYD 550. I got a couple of those radios that I was going to do a review video on like 2 or 3 years ago. And quite frankly, I just thought that they were so poorly made that I'm just like, I would have nothing good to say about this radio. And I just never did a review video on it. So I don't know. I haven't had my hands on one in probably 2 years or more. If you just look up CDM 550H like hotel by KYD or Kydera, you can read about them there, but that's what that radio is right there. So, let's see. That's our Finder. This is the DV4 Mobile that has never come about, and I think it's kind of debunked now. Wireless Holdings out of Florida was trying to create a radio that would be tri-band, analog, 2-meter 22440, and have D-Star, DMR, Fusion, and eventually P25 in it. It's an all-mode, all-band radio put into one package. And it would do LTE programming, so it had a SIM card in it. So if you're on a road trip and you got to a new area, you could hit a button on the radio and say, okay, pull down all the repeaters in this area, and it would auto-program itself. Really cool concept. I'm not sure whatever happened to it. They were supposed to release like 2 years ago. They never have, and Vaporware. Yeah, Vaporware. So I reached out to him a couple of times a while back and said, hey, would you mind coming on the show, give us an update of your product? And he didn't reply to me, so I don't know. I don't know whatever happened to that.
We also have DX Mini joining the party.
Awesome. Welcome, Jason. His name's Jason, too.
Yeah, Jason. Man, we got too many Jasons around.
Right. Yeah, not really. Again, this is just my end screen for the presentation that I give normally. So my website, livefromthehamshack.tv, which you guys hopefully already have. So, let's go over here and there.
We're back on the coast at Costa Rica.
We're back with the tri-element buddy pole on the shores of Costa Rica at sunset. It's not the shores. It's in the mountains of Costa Rica at sunset.
I got something coming out of my head.
Yeah, that's the screen behind you. That's not.
Oh.
That's
okay.
not meshed together correctly.
I thought it was
So
another antenna.
no, not another antenna. So. All right.
One question
Okay.
I did not know where to interrupt about this one was, can DMR do APRS?
Yes. Yeah, you can do the APRS over DMR. The Anytone radios do that.
They do it over DMR, and also you can do it on analog.
Both.
Yes.
Both. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, what it is somebody on a DMR system on the back end has an APRS iGate plugged into the network.
Okay.
Because it's all internet based anyway.
Uh-huh.
So when you set up your radio to transmit and it hits your DMR repeater, it transmits that information over. I don't know exactly how it works. I've never used it, but yes, it's possible.
Now, if I do get lucky enough to get the new Anytone Plus radio,
yeah,
I'll set that up.
Okay.
I'll set that up.
Good deal. All right. What other questions do we have? Have you got a list there?
Well, that was the last one on my list. The other ones I did interrupt at the pseudo-appropriate moments to ask.
All right.
They need the questions. Mike kind of asks again, you can switch talk groups when you connect to a repeater, or can it only owner do it? Well, the owner would only be able to add the talk groups.
The owner adds the talk groups that are available, but the end user chooses which talk group he wants to use on the repeater at the time. So yeah, you can if a talk group is available on that repeater, then you can switch from whatever talk group was used last to a new talk group all you want to.
And Tim says, wouldn't use T-Mobile or Metro. It's limited. Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if that's true or not. It might. I'm not sure about that. Honestly, T-Mobile here in Dallas-Fort Worth is pretty limited already.
Yeah.
So I've had
limited. I was going with limited coverage also.
Right. Yeah. They don't have great coverage here anyway.
He's talking also about the bands.
He's talking about the he says band 2 and band 4. Well, there's a listing of the bands that's used. That the RFinder will work on. But I've always had AT&T. I carried a RFinder M1 for a year and a half on AT&T, and I had zero issues with coverage or availability on it. It worked just as good as my previous phone, which is Samsung Galaxy S5. I think was the one I had before that. That's what I said. Their page only shows band 2 and band 4. My point is, it doesn't matter because T-Mobile's limited coverage anyway. At least here it is. It may not be true everywhere. But it's not. I haven't used T-Mobile in over 10 years because when I last tried to use T-Mobile in Dallas-Fort Worth with a regular phone, the coverage on it was pathetic here anyway.
Yep.
So it doesn't really change anything. What are the chances that we will see DMR Tier 3 in amateur radio? Not much. I don't think. It'd be like having an analog trunked system in an amateur radio. It just takes up too many frequencies. I don't really see the point of it, honestly. I mean, you know what? Hams are an experimental bunch, and maybe someone will go do it just because they want to and want to see if they can. More power to you. But, yeah, I don't see that happening. The talk group function of the repeater is vastly different from the talk groups on a hotspot. I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, does it mean you can only activate on a hotspot one at a time, unlike a repeater? The repeater
maybe
putting out some of the talk group information, and then you can key it up to trigger that. Or...
Maybe. I'm not sure what he means by that. That's kind of a vague term. Not that you're wrong, but it's kind of a vague term. Dave says, I'm still DMR clueless. I'm very dissatisfied with my Linko Alliance HD1. Old guy syndrome. I know a lot of guys use the HD1. I know some other guys that use the HD1 and don't like it. Or a lot of guys that do like it and a lot of guys that don't like it. So that's a matter of personal preference, I think. The HD1 was one of the easier ones to program from the front panel. But it is a couple-year-old design. There's newer models out now. The Alenco and the Anytone are out now, and they're a little bit easier to use, in my opinion. So that's there. James, what are the DFW area P25 repeaters? There's one in Richardson, and there's one in Arlington. And There's one that the Denton Club has talked about putting up, and I don't know if they're putting it on the Roston Tower or on one of the Denton Towers, and I don't know the current status of it. There's a VHF somewhere in Arlington as well as a UHF somewhere in Arlington, and there's one in Richardson. And I've keyed the Arlington and the Richardson. Yeah, I've keyed both of those, the Arlington and Richardson repeaters, from an HT standing in my backyard in Grapevine.
Same on the Arlington repeater. I'm able to key it up pretty well in my house.
No, he's talking about P25.
Oh.
He was asking about the P25. You don't have a P25 radio.
No.
But yeah.
No.
So, yeah, see, K8MRD says he loves his HD1. So, are all the bugs sorted out on the Anytone 5783 Pro? I don't think so, no.
What bugs are you referring to?
Well, yeah. What bugs are you referring to?
You know of bugs on there?
There was an issue with the microphone on some of the first ones. That was fixed. There was an issue with some of the power out. The 220 band wasn't outputting the correct amount of power on the first run.
Mm-hmm.
They fixed that with firmware updates. But I don't.
Everything is software?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's been completely fixed or not. But it kind of depends on what you're referring to, which bugs you're referring to. Let me say something about radio bugs real quick, okay? This is a blanket statement, okay? I'm not talking about Anytone, TYT, Motorola. I'm not talking about anything. If you read about a radio with a bug on Facebook, take it for what it's worth. That statement has a 50-50 chance of being true. I can't count the number of false and inaccurate crap I've read on Facebook about, oh, well, what about this widespread problem with the TYT 2017? I'm like, they fixed that like 6 months ago. Oh, well, the people are posting about Facebook right now. Well, that's because people on Facebook just like to complain. I would use a different word if we weren't on YouTube right now instead of complain.
Why do you think I'm not on FacePage?
Well, Facebook's a great place. Facebook is a great source of information. It's an even better source of false information. Now, that's not to say it doesn't have its place, but just what I'm saying is if you read about some bug on Facebook, go verify it from someone else, okay? Because I can't count the number of phone calls and emails I've gotten. Well, did they ever fix this bug? I mean, well, first of all, that's not a bug, what you're talking about. Half of them, I was like, there is no bug. That what you're talking about doesn't exist. And the second one is, yeah, they fixed that bug 2 years ago. Oh, well, they posted about it last week. I don't know what to tell you. So take that for what it's worth.
Well, these DMR radios are like little computers.
Oh, yeah.
That you do need to update with the software if you find something like that. And if you think it's a bug, go ahead and check their webpage and check your firmware. And make sure you're running the update one.
That's correct.
And stay off Facebook.
Bill Crow says, do you foresee VHF crossbanding with DMR, such as the Anytone 578? I hear pros and cons. VHF crossbanding with DMR. That doesn't make any sense. VHF is a band. DMR is a mode. I'm not sure what you mean by that. There are VHF DMR repeaters out there right now. Let's see. Rail says, going back to the hotspot hardwire.
Oh, I was going to say that.
There's a couple of Wi-Fi hotspots that have Ethernet port built in, yes. Verizon Home. Well, that's a Verizon Home, MiFi, and AT&T Netgear are internet hotspots, not digital voice hotspots. There's a difference between a digital voice hotspot and an internet hotspot. Depends on what you're talking about there. Can you hardwire a Zoom spot? Yeah, they have some Zoom spots now that have Ethernet ports on them. Steven says, I used a Verizon MiFi Home on my repeater here in Crockett. No issues. Yes. I know multiple people that have used a internet hotspot to run their DMR repeater, and it works fine, or DMR hotspot, and it works fine. Generally, but it depends on the coverage in your area also. You go out in the woods, you go up on top of a mountain somewhere, you may not get 4G. But so it depends on where you're at.
Bill said it was analog to DMR.
Analog. Okay, that's kind of what I thought you meant, analog to DMR. But yeah, I just want to make sure. Yeah, I think you're going to see more of that upcoming because you've actually been able to do that for a while with an XLX hotspot reflector. I know a couple guys. I've heard guys checking into the DMR net before that were coming through an all-star system or analog system. So that's been possible for a while. As far as inside of a radio, yeah, I think you're probably going to see more radios doing that. It's kind of a neat feature, and since Anytone did it, now everybody else is going to jump on the bandwagon.
And And then DX Mini has the option of doing both Wi-Fi and
Yeah,
Ethernet
that's correct.
built
Yeah,
in, like the one that you have by your desk.
like that one right there. Yeah. All right, so Facebook is not a great place for anything.
Only good places to spread the dog pictures.
Yeah. There's a lot of good ham radio stuff on Facebook. I'm a member of a lot of different ham radio groups, and the WSJTX group about FT8, that's a good group. Parks on the Air has some good Facebook groups. So it really kind of depends on what you're at, what you're looking at. Let's see.
We got Mark joining us from Benji Vice. I can't pronounce that. You see that?
No.
Where did it go? Mark Harris.
Mark Harris. Oh. Bendigo. Is that Australia? Vic AU? VLC AU? Is that Australia? I don't know. So, let's see.
Thank you for joining us, man. Sorry we mispronounced that.
Right, yeah,
very,
yeah.
very
Sorry,
badly.
mispronounced it. So, we've been going for about an hour and 20 minutes here, guys. So, but if people have questions, feel free.
97.
97 users. Thank you for watching. Once again, tomorrow I will be posting our next episode of the YouTubers Bunch, which is a part 2 to our ARRL discussion. We'll be talking more about ARRL. There's a couple of guys in the second part of the video that were not in the first video, so we'll get to hear from some new perspectives, as it were. Yeah, and did you put my
We did not talk about the kits yet.
Kit.co? Go to Kit.co and go to the first kit in there should be best ideas for holiday gifts for hams or something like that.
What's on your list this year?
Well, I put up a video a couple of days ago, 4 days ago, about best gift ideas, holiday gift ideas for hams. It's basically a bunch of stocking stuffers. So if you're looking for stocking stuffers for a ham radio operator, I posted them all there in that kit. Mm-hmm. So if you link to that kit and put that link in the chat, they can go there. You put the link to the... Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Well, you put the link to the whole kit, but not to that one. But that's okay.
We can fix that.
No, it's okay.
Also.
That's all right. Please tell me your opinion about the RF Shark Open Spot 2. I love the Open Spot. The Open Spot's one of the easiest to set up, program, and configure, in my opinion. It's a great device. It's the Open Spot 2 is Wi-Fi only, so if you want to set it up at home and plug it into an Ethernet connection, it does not have that option. So some of your Pi-Star devices are a better option for that. So it depends on what you want to do. As far as portability, it's a great device. I really like the software that the Open Spot runs on. I think it's really solid.
There's some good ideas in there. I'm looking through them right now.
Yes, Bendigo, Central Victoria, Australia. I thought you were talking about Australia. Welcome to the chat, Mike. Thanks for joining us tonight.
I'm sorry about butchering the name again.
So what do you do if you just have a DMR HT and no DMR anything within range? You'd want a hotspot. Well, find a site and put up a repeater. Thousands of hams have done it all over the world. So if that's not an option to you, yeah, hotspot works great. So we're always trying to get more repeaters up in Texas. I'm trying to get more DMR repeaters up in Texas.
DX Mini answered the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. Best cheap DMR on the market in your opinion? TYT MDU V380. As far as cheap, if you want the best DMR HT on the market, the Anytone 878 Plus. But if you want the cheapest,
no, why is the 878 Plus? Even though I'm eyeing that pretty hard,
it's got a better screen. It's got a better battery. It's got more options on the screen. It'll tell you last heard, and whatnot. It's got Bluetooth and APRS. Mm-hmm. It's got more features. It's got a longer battery life.
To find his Bluetooth capabilities.
You can connect it to a Bluetooth headset, and it comes with a push-to-talk button. So you can push to talk into your headset and talk that, and have the radio on your belt, and never pick it up.
Or you do it hands kind of free. Put that button on your steering wheel. And...
Right. Yeah. You can also connect it to your the Bluetooth in your car.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it's just got more features on it. Keep it up, Frank. You're doing a good job.
Hey, I'm always doing a good job, but thank you. I appreciate it. Someone has to keep Jason in line.
Let's see. A lot of folks like the GD77 as a cheaper option. Yeah, the GD77 is okay. I know a guy who had one, and he couldn't. He said the firmware and the software on this radio is kind of jacked. GD77 is actually made by TYT and for Radiodity, and it's a toned down version of the UV380. So if you want to go just drop dead absolute cheap as you can go, go to GD77. Even a GD73 is not a bad option. This thing charges via micro USB cable. Ooh. The buttons on it stick out too far, so it's It's hard to use a push to talk without pushing the channel up down at the same time. But, cheap isn't always better. So I've talked to a lot of guys who bought a cheap DMR radio, cheapest they could get, and then they used it and they had problems for whatever reason. Maybe they couldn't program it. Maybe they couldn't get it to work right. Maybe they couldn't get the firmware updated. I don't know. And then they say, well, DMR sucks. I can't get this to work. I'm just like, you bought the epitome of the bottom of the barrel in radios, and you think the entire mode sucks because you can't figure that radio out? That doesn't make any sense. So, yeah. If you're on a budget, you're on a budget, and I understand that. That's okay. But if you get a cheap radio and you can't get it to work, don't blame the entire DMR mode for that.
And then programming it in the code plugs can be a little... not difficult, but...
challenging.
It takes a little bit to get right. But it's a glorified spreadsheet. If you know how to do spreadsheets, True. You just got to check your settings and make sure you keyed everything into the computer correct. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on the best hotspot for beginners? Without pandering to DX Mini.
without saying DX Mini, because he's in the chat.
Yeah. No, that's the truth.
Basically, the DX Mini's solid. And Jason's got excellent customer service. He'll answer all your questions that you have on it. But basically, there's only about 3 types of hotspots out there right now. There's the Pi-Star, which DX Mini is Pi-Star based. There's the Open Spot, and there's the Blue DV or Ambi server style. And there's a couple of variations to that. Most of your hotspots out there right now are Pi-Star based. OpenSpot does their own software. They're the only ones who use it. ZoomSpot, Northwest Digital, and a couple of these other guys still use Blue DV. And there's nothing wrong with it. The Blue DV works fine. But most of your hotspots are Pi-Star. As far as ease to set up, I think the OpenSpot's probably easier to set up. But if you get your hotspot from a place like DX Mini that's going to set it up for you, he'll set the whole thing up for you and ship it to you. And when you get it, all you got to do is plug it into your Ethernet, power it on, and you're good to, and it's working. He'll set it up exactly like you ask him to. So if you're looking for that, DX Mini's a good one. There's a couple other companies out there that'll do the same thing as that. If you're looking for ease of setting up by yourself, I personally think the OpenSpot's a little bit easier to set up than Pi-Star, especially if you're talking about connecting it to a new Wi-Fi network at the time. But again, the OpenSpot doesn't have Ethernet, so if you want to use an Ethernet, get a Pi-Star something. DX Mini V2 that just came out, those are really solid. Everyone wants a Wires X hotspot. We will see if Yaesu ever releases one. Meh. B-Tech DMR 6x2 by Smokin' Ape. Yes, that's a solid choice as well. Not quite as many features as the 878 Plus, but yeah, that's a solid choice too.
He says also made by Anytone?
It is, yeah. So is the Elenco.
B-Tech name on it?
They made some for B-Tech. I don't know what the reasoning behind it is. DX Mini is easy as it gets for getting started. Yep, agreed. Anytone D878 is the best on the market. I think that 878 Plus with the Bluetooth in it is the best on the market. The B-Tech and the Elenco are a very, very close second. In fact, I'm told the B-Tech is going to have Bluetooth soon, if that hasn't happened yet, through a firmware update. And then they will be the same radio.
Do they still do
There
the
are
APRS?
Yes,
beginning
yeah,
on analog?
I believe they do that now.
Ah.
I believe they do that now, if I'm not mistaken. But there's if you go to mykit.co, there's some B-Tech stuff listed in there. Let's see. Had to replace Bluetooth PTT button by Anytone 878, dropping the connection. Bridgecom said they come out with a newer version, Bluetooth PTT. They sent me one and it seems to be working. Interesting. I never had a problem with the one I got from them.
I'm glad they made it right.
Oh, yeah. Bridgecom's
Sounds
got great customer service. Let's see.
Oh, we were one shy of 100.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We're at 99 right now?
We were at 99.
Oh, okay.
So close. I was ready to pounce on it.
Okay, Mikey says, is hardwiring the way to go for hotspots? I have a Zoom spot and my bit error rate is high, but I connect via Wi-Fi. Quite possibly, hardlining would be better.
It depends on your distance to your Wi-Fi, how you're close to it, how's the radiation coming off those Wi-Fi antennas, how many devices are on your Wi-Fi. But yes,
true.
Hardline's always...
Hardline's always going to be a more solid connection than Wi-Fi.
If you can. Ethan says, agreed, I'm waiting on the Yaesu to release their easy and cheap to use hotspot option.
Good luck with that. Good luck with Yaesu releasing something that's easy and cheap. Cheap to use, easy to use is okay. Cheap, Yaesu, not much. Let's see. Baofeng DM1701 is okay. Yeah, those are decent. How about those carbon fiber push-up? I saw that the other day. Eric did some kind of review video. Ham Radio Concepts, Eric, did a review video about a carbon fiber mast, push-up mast for an HF antenna.
I bet it'd be light.
I bet it would be light. And it wouldn't resonate with your antenna, so it wouldn't interfere with the signal.
Interesting.
Yeah. Pretty cool. I haven't watched that video yet. I just got I follow Eric on YouTube, so I get notification when he posts a new video. And I saw that and I thought, that'd probably be pretty interesting, but I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch that video yet. Let's see. I want a DMR repeater with more talk groups available. Yeah. I like my Elenco MD5 TGP, but will probably upgrade to an 878 Plus. Yep. Yeah, you know what? I've got an Elenco. That's a solid choice, too. I really like the Elenco. Let's see. Yeah, that's all.
That's about it.
K8 MRD. I have a carbon fiber telescope mast that I use. They work great and weigh next to nothing. Yeah. KG50KB, $399 for that carbon fiber.
What?
Wow. Get a DX Commander. Don't need a push-up pole because it's its own vertical antenna. It's about half that price, too. Less than half that price. Let's see. Gigaparts has bought Eric. But have you tried the McKinney Brandmeister repeater? It's wide open. I can hit it from Richardson with an HT. I have not. Oh, he's talking to Don. Yeah, but I drop it near work.
Do you want to talk about plans coming up, or you want to hold that for the a spontaneous live stream sometime around the holidays?
Plans.
Winterfield Day, other things.
Oh, we can talk about Winterfield Day. We'll do 2 more live streams before Winterfield Day ever gets here, though.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna do Winterfield Day under the call sign of Kilo November 5 Tango Romeo, which is the North Texas Radio Sport Association that was set up by a couple of guys a while back, and a friend of ours, Noel, at KF5SOK.
Yes, the Noel.
The Noel was a part of it, and they kind of all disbanded, and Noel took over the call sign. He asked to take the call sign. They gave it to him, and that's what we used at Winterfield Day last year.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I did I submitted for a Logbook of the World account for KN5TR just yesterday. So they got to send the postcard in the mail. Have you done that yet? You can do that for yourself.
Yes.
No, you haven't. You need to do that for yourself. Yeah. Plans for the Orlando Hamfest? Yes. Yeah, for several months there, I did not think I was going to be able to go to Orlando. The plans that I thought were going to interfere did change, and I now have that weekend open. So yes, I will be at the Orlando Hamfest. 95% chance I'll be at the Orlando Hamcation, which is like the 10th or the 12th or whatever that Saturday is in the second weekend in February. And yeah, looking for it. I didn't get a chance to go in 2019. I went 2017, 2018, and I didn't get a chance to go this year, so I'm looking forward to catching up on that show next year. Eric, Ham Radio Concepts, will most likely be there. I'm sure he will. I believe K8MRD is going to that, I think. Mike, tell me if I'm wrong on that, because we were talking about during the last YouTubers bunch, and a couple guys said yes, a couple guys said no. No remote Costa Rica. No, we still got our remote station down in Costa Rica. Yeah, yeah, we still got that down there. We did have a problem with the antenna arise a few days ago, so we log into the radio now, and the waterfall is silent. The antenna will tune, but it's not receiving anything. So we're having that. There's maintenance guys or ranch hands that are down there, and we asked them to go look. We think that probably something, since the antenna's hanging above a roof and it gets kind of windy up there at this time of year, I think something kind of came loose, maybe a PL259 or the coax pulled out. Well, I don't know, something. But we're having that looked at, and as soon as they get that repaired for us, we'll be back on the air in Costa Rica. Yeah, so Mike will be there, Orlando Hamcation. We'll probably do some kind of YouTubers meet up at Orlando Hamcation.
The one in Dayton
figure out.
was pretty fun.
We're gonna do another one in Dayton for
Yep.
sure. I think I've talked to you about our Dayton plans. Would you be able to go to Orlando in February?
I'll put in to see
Okay.
what it comes up.
All right. I might ride out there again with Val and Lee. I'll see what their plans are.
If I go, I'll fly.
Yeah. Well, I think it's probably more likely this time that I'll fly also. In fact, if I ride out there with them, they leave on Saturday night. They don't stay for the show on Sunday, and I don't want to do that this time. So I might just fly. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see what happens like that.
Cowtown, that's just around the corner.
Cowtown Hamfest is in yeah. I don't think I'll make that one this year. I think I've got plans that weekend.
Oh, I'll
So-
probably still go.
I would if I'm free that Saturday, I'll run up there for a couple hours. But
Yeah.
we're not that was the place where that live stream wouldn't work last
Yeah.
year. We're not doing that again.
No more
So
live
their
streams.
internet there was terrible.
Well, from the conventions, we'll try
Right.
Dayton. Maybe.
Oh yeah, we'll do something at Dayton
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. Any thoughts on COPA being applied to YouTube now? Yeah, there's
What now?
COPA. It's a new child restrictive thing that a lot of YouTubers are freaking out, saying that their channels are going to get banned. I think it's a lot of fluff and not much. I mean, they're doing some stuff, but if your channel is not directly related to children under the age of 13, then it's not really. I've read some stuff about it and watched some other YouTuber guys talk about it, and I don't think that there's much to it as far as affecting channels like mine and Josh's and Eric's and Bob and all those guys. Let's see. I'll try for Orlando. Can't promise anything, Steven. That happened to me on 20 meters. My 20 meters is quite nice, but I'm not sure. Cowtown Hamfest. Lightweight dual band, 2 meter 440 antenna mast, schedule 80 PVC pipe with a smaller PVC inserted, dual pipe. Very sturdy. Yeah. That's good. Speaker wire. Fiesta Hamfest in San Antonio. You know, I went to that show 3 or 4 years ago, and I was less than impressed. If it was a local show and wouldn't take me 5 hours to get to, I'd probably go to it. If it was something here up in North Texas, but I'm not driving 5 hours down there for that show. I didn't really think it was. It's not that it was a bad show; it just wasn't worth driving 10 hours round trip for. Let's see. Uploading quick.
You got a question down there. from,
Why is
Jason.
USB on the... Oh, yeah, hold on 1 second.
Right.
Why is USB on the left and LSB on the right of the waterfall when the frequency dial goes to the right and down the... I don't know. What radio are you talking about? Because on my Flex, if I'm on upper sideband, it's to the right of the line that's on the waterfall. If it's on lower sideband, it's to the left. I'm not sure I understand your question there. How do you find out what talk groups are available on my local DMR repeaters? Seems like the code plugs I'm finding are outdated. Where are you? Jason Jenkins, where are you? If you're in Texas, it's on dmr-texas.net. If you're in another state, I might know, and I might not know. It just depends.
You do link off to a couple other states from Texas
For code plugs, yeah.
.net.
Yeah, for code plugs in the national. In fact, let me pull that up because I was thinking about that when I was talking about it. Go over here and go over here and... Nope. Okay. Here. And I'm going to switch this here. All right, so if you go to dmr-texas.net, this is the front page. It's kind of a very simple website here. This is our email list. Join the discussion. It's a groups.io account. If we go to code plugs and national code plugs right here, this is a list of all the states, obviously. These are the ones we've been able to find or people have sent us. So go here and see if your state is listed. Like Alaska, we've not been able to find anything for them. Arkansas.
But these are other repeater owners that came to you and said, "Hey, post this information about us."
Or it's just information that somebody in our group knew about.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So California, Colorado, there's certain. Yeah, this is the website. This is the website where you should be able. If you go to Arizona, yeah, areas statewide. Areas North Alabama Repeater Association. So some of them have multiple ones. Colorado has North Colorado and statewide Colorado. So see if what you need is down here.
Shout out to Chris who maintains the page
Yeah,
for us.
Chris KD5HIY maintains most of that for us. So that's kind of fun. Let's switch back here. Oh, good. So go back to my chat window. Nope. Oh, there it is. I thought it was over there. Let's see. That's weird. 73 must be backwards then. Oh. Maybe your radio is in Australia because south of the equator. Yeah, I get it.
Oh.
Oh, gosh.
I just got that. Since you
yeah,
said it.
south of the equator. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because right now it's summer there.
Let's go to Australia.
Yeah.
Actually, it was nice in Texas today.
Yeah, it was 72 degrees here today.
Man, it's kind of forgotten it's wintertime right now.
Yeah. Kansas City, I guess if... well, you know what? There's some good stuff in Kansas City because Bridgecom's up there in Kansas City. So, yeah, KSDMR or D4D code plugs. Go to that link I just showed. There is listings for Kansas and Kansas City both there. Yeah, thanks for your help. New to DMR, I'm listening at 2 or 3 QSO. Are you permitted to break in, and if so, how? Yeah, same. Yeah, you're permitted to break in, just like you would on any repeater. Just find a break in the conversation and key up throughout your call sign.
Same kind of standard, amateur radio demeanor.
Yeah.
And etiquette.
Oh, Steven said it was 82 in Crockett today. It was only 72 here. So, all right. Hey, guys, we've been going for an hour and 40 minutes. I think we're going to close it down here. I do appreciate everyone's participation. Share this video with your friends or people that you talk to on DMR.
Hit the like button.
Hit the like button.
And subscribe.
And, yeah, well, most of these guys are probably already subscribed, hopefully. But definitely hit the like button. Give me a thumbs up on it. Let me see who's texting me. Oh, that's my wife. So she goes to bed about 9 o'clock every night because she gets up early every day. So AG5SK, thank you. Thanks for joining us here today as well. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and shut it down then.
All right. Well, throughout the week, if you want to go ahead and chat with us, please
Discord.
join the Discord.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of different channels there. There's a subject that you probably find interesting and a bunch of other people to chat with. Don't forget the Patreon and the kit links.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, I'm good to go.
Yeah. Dale, you were one of the winners in the contest, right? Yeah. I've got, I sent out the repeater to Mr. Tom 40, I think is who won the repeater. Sent that out, had to get that boxed up. I took that up to the mailbox and have them box that up professionally for me. Sent that out. DX Mini's been sent. Anytone Radio's been sent. The last are the T-shirts, and those are probably going out tomorrow. I've got them all sitting right. I actually took them in the mailbox to send on Friday, and I forgot to. I had them with me, and I'm like, I was going to put them in a package, and then buy postage at the mailbox, but I forgot to take an envelope for them. So
don't they have that easy shipping?
Yeah. That's good. So, but should be on its way to you. So it will be. You should get it this week. That should be the last. I think I wanted to get all the hardware. In fact, one guy who won a radio has never replied to my email. So I think I'm just going to send it to his QRZ address and put a note in there that says, "You won this. Check your email." But anyway, so
put a message out on the traffic net.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, check your email. Yeah. Good
that'd
deal.
be fun. You should really do that.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah, I've done it before. It's been a while, though. All right, guys, 73, thanks for watching. Hit the like button, thumbs up right down below the screen you're watching right now. Appreciate the participation, and hopefully talk to you guys on DMR or in Discord, if not, sometime in the next week or so. And I'm on FT8, usually on 40 meters from home at night, sometimes on 80. And going to be doing some more stuff on that with videos upcoming as well. So 73, everyone have a good evening.
Thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching.